Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy. Thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Levinsky is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace. He has a great topic this evening. So if you are a consultant or getting in the consulting business, you definitely want to hear what Rich has to say. He brings 30 years of experience in doing that. I wanted to speak today about this evening about it's really kind of amusing and downright funny in many cases, but somewhat disastrous. The topic of titles on your resume. I get resumes all the time from people who have these funky, goofy titles that companies give them, and they expect that who was ever scanning, and I'll get to that in a second, their resume knows what that means. And they don't. So if you are a chief happiness officer in your company, and that's what they've given you a title of, and you write that down on a resume, somebody is going to scan that and disregard it because they'll say, we're not looking for a chief happiness officer. What is that? I mentioned this on the radio not too long ago with Terry Sullivan, one of our experts on LinkedIn and the CEO and founder of BuzzPro. And he was kind enough to send me a number of titles that he's found on LinkedIn profiles that people have used that are totally ridiculous and don't help at all. Just a few. Chief Happiness Officer, Chief Imagination Officer, Chief Inspiration Officer, Chief People Officer, Director of Employee Engagement, EVP of Employee Engagement, Marketing Rockstar. It's a title, right? Yeah. Marketing Thought Leader, Software Superstar, VP of People Management. I've seen ones that are even stranger than this. Client Happiness Manager. Well, we could go on and on. Here is the point. When you use a title that nobody understands and isn't really clear, people will stop looking at your resume. You got to remember, if you're a job candidate, that your resume gets scanned. It doesn't get read. People look for who you worked for, what'd you do, how long were you there, and some kind of performance numbers. If they see something that they like, they will go on to read your resume and do it more thoroughly. But up until then, it gets scanned and it's being compared to 20 other resumes, 50 other resumes, 100 other resumes. If somebody doesn't see what they like, and 60% of the time your resume is initially reviewed by somebody that really doesn't know that much about the job. So when you write down some kind of cockamamie, oddball title, it's going to get passed over. I know, and candidates say to me, well, that's what my title was. That doesn't matter what your title was. Change your title on your resume to make it conform to what people understand. Make it clear what people understand. An account manager, for instance, that can be a lot of things. Sometimes that's people that just manage accounts that are already there. Sometimes it's a sales position. If it's a sales position, put down sales position, just sales. So if you've got one of those, you've got to realize that people are going to look at Chief Happiness Officer and they're going to think, what kind of cockamamie title is that? That's ridiculous. Why would I? What? And then they'll stop and they'll throw that one away and go to the next resume where they will understand better what the candidate is saying about what they do. So if you have one of those kind of cockamamie titles, just change the thing. And I know candidates will say, like I mentioned, well, that's not what my title really was. That doesn't matter. You're trying to get a job and you're trying to make it clear what you've done, how you've done it, who you've done it for. And if you come up with some kind of title that might mean something to your company, that's wonderful. But if it doesn't mean something to a hiring authority or to a normal person that might be scanning your resume, then it's useless and it's going to get pitched. So think about that and get rid of those kinds of things because they're not really going to help you. What's a thought leader anyhow? I mean, yeah, come on. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashara with the Job Search Solution.